Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. My goodness, have you been leaning in? I know I have been, and I couldn't wait for episode 2 in the Daniel's story. What a story of redemption. As I'm listening to Minister Shandell speak, they both are evangelists now doing the work of the Lord. But just to hear their story, and I've known them for years, and to hear their grace story, I love grace stories. And now, just to recap, we have Chandel. She's had 2 children, and she's in church. And then we have a sugar bear. I'm not legal to call him that, but he is in the military. He has been missing in action in terms of communication for 18 months. And he is the evangelist at the time's son, eligible son. We know about those, don't we, ladies? The eligible man in church. And so now he's coming back. When he is in our presence, he's feeling a peace that surpasses his own understanding. And he's like, I like this. After coming from combat, and we're not going to divulge the kind of work he had to do, but he's a military man. And for those veterans, thank you for your service. For those active in duty, thank you for your service. Myself, marrying a veteran, Vietnam era Air Force, um, decorated man of God. I get it. Having brothers that serve in the service, I get it. So, people in the military have a different language. The language is kind of different, right? And so here is this man of God who understand, have put boundaries around himself of not interrupting and interfering with women that are seeking the Lord. He'll play his little thief out there. Now his game has ran out. And now he's meeting this woman who have 2 babies, beautiful sons. And he now is proposing. This is where we get the church ladies are mad, and she's glad. And the devil is mad, double mad. So we love when the devil gets double mad. And now, after 6 weeks, ladies, there's still hope. 6 weeks. I told you that when a man makes his decision about a woman, it can be in 6 days, 6 weeks, 6 months. But if he goes over 2 years, baby, you are not the prize, because he's still searching and making sure you're the one. And how much time does he need? You're talking about 365 days, and if it's a leap year, 366 times 2 for him to decide if you are the prize. And this man of God in 6 weeks decided that she is the one. Talk to me about your proposal. It's your story.
So the proposal was, well, I knew when we were gonna make, we're gonna get married, but I wanted to make it what she wanted, what I want to think that she would like and see, and do the things that I heard in our 6 weeks that inspired her, made her happy. Because in that point of decision, and when I was making it, we wanted to make each other happy, and I wanted to see her smile. So that's when I knew proposing in front of her friends and stuff like that gave her the validation that she needed, and got me the prize that I wanted.
I love it. Oh my God, that is so beautiful. So he's validating you. He's gotten his prize. He called you his prize. And that you got the validation. I love God. You'll always hear me say that I love God, because when I see his workings, it just amazes me. God will never out amaze me. And so he's proposing to you in your haters, in front of your haters, in front of your friends, your maker, your haters. And he is validating and putting validation on you. Talk to me about those moments.
That moment I was like a little nervous when he proposed. I was like, get up, because I've never been proposed before. And
You were saying get up.
yeah, because was nervous. He was nervous.
Where was he when he proposed?
At my friend's house. We was at my friend's house.
Okay.
Had something going on. He got on his one knee. He was nervous. He couldn't get up himself on his knees. Like he was shaking.
Okay, that's good.
So I was like, get up.
So you're at your friend's house.
Yes.
She's a hater or she's a participator?
She's a hater.
Okay, hater. Oh, I love that. All the plot thickness. So now God chooses the hater's house.
Yes.
Oh, go ahead.
So when he had proposed and put the ring on, I was like, I said, oh, this is pretty. I like this ring because it was a set. And
I designed it.
he designed the ring.
He designed it in the hater's house. And you talking about get up, man, stay down there. What, okay, talk to me. See, that's not my story. It's your story. Yeah.
So he was nervous. I see him shaking and stuff. I was like, you could get up. He was, but he made his effort, and I loved that, and I respected that. So he put the ring on, and my friend at the time, she was like, oh, this is nice. Was a little jealous because she'd been with her dude for years, and
No ring.
no ring.
No ring.
No ring.
Yeah.
And I've been.
Did
with
you have
mine.
a hand holding up that how did you say praise the Lord? I mean, they can't see you, but did you talk to me about the ring? Okay, you looked at the ring.
Okay, praise God. Okay. So
Who did you tell first? After you said yes, talk to me about the yes.
I showed my mother first, but the yes was, I said yes, and I already knew because, like I said, a month before. And then he waited for the ring because he went ring shopping. And once he put the ring on, I already said my yes.
Yes.
But being up in front of others, that's why I was like, get up, yes, come on, get up. But at the time, she was jealous.
Yes.
And
Bitter Betty, we call those.
yes, she tried to destroy my wedding.
Bitter Betty, we call
Big
those.
time.
Yes. Nervous Patties. Yes. Talk to me about Bitter Betty.
Betty, she was, I was going to school day and night.
Yes.
And I told my husband, I said, listen, I'm an open book. I used to have guys call me. I only have phone friends. Nobody, like I said before, I didn't let men come over and, have children. I wouldn't do that. So while I was at school, she would call him and tell him, oh, she talked to such and such, such. And he would get mad, like, well, I already told you this, so you couldn't get really upset. So the devil was just being busy.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lord had me blinded
Yes.
at that moment. And I was like, who keep calling him, telling him this stuff? And I was real upset. And she's supposed to have been in a wedding.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody got their dresses. And when he told me who it was, I was so mad. I mean, it takes a lot for me to get mad. I said, I'm going to beat that heifer right now. Right, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. No, that's your story.
So I was so mad. I had a plan in my head how I'm going to do it. I said, I'm going to grab her, I'm going to bust her in the face. I was doing
You're from Buffalo,
Yeah.
right? Okay, where it snows.
I had it all planned out what I was going to do because I was so angry.
Yeah.
And he was like, Chandel, promise me that you won't go over there and fight. And I looked at him like, really? You really asking me to promise you? He said, well, I told her that I wouldn't say anything. I said, how in the world you going to make a pact with the devil?
Preach, preacher. Go ahead.
So I like, it's death do us part. She, really? Are you seriously? And he said, please promise me. Please don't go over there. I'm like, okay. So he went in the room and I was up front and I started crying. I got on my knees and I started praying. I was crying. I was so hurt and so angry. I said, how could she do this to me? So I'm like, it's okay. So now I got to change up. So she would go to my mother-in-law, call my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law and said, she's not ready to get married. And she would say the same exact thing she told my husband. Oh, she be having these guys calling her. So my sister-in-law, my mother-in-law getting a little upset because that's their heart,
Yes.
and it's clogging my mother-in-law's spiritual,
Yes.
sense where that's her son.
Yes.
And so she thought that she was my best friend. I said, no, my best friend live in North Carolina. She was like, wow. So at the time, fast forward, it's time to get married. She never got her dress. She went right the day of the wedding. She went over to my mother-in-law house and asked my husband, "Are you sure you want to get married? This was your time. You need to not get married to her." And my mother-in-law was like, "Oh my God, this is a dangerous, jealous spirit." And my husband's like, "Listen, you need to go. You really need to go." And I was like, I can't. I just like right, my wedding day, she's gonna do all this. I was like, okay, but I knew it was nobody but the enemy. And when it was time, when I showed up at the church, she got her fake tears. "I'm sorry." I said, okay, move. I'm going to marry my husband.
That's what I'm talking about. Girl, get up out of here before I get escorted up out of here by two ushers.
And the deacon. Okay. This is my wedding. So here you have someone that is planting seed of discord, seed, but you made a decision and you're a covenant man. So your mind is already made up, but in our emotions, here is somebody sowing seed up to the day of the wedding. Who is plain friend? We call those plain friends, right? Because if you have friends like those, enemies you don't need. David says, faithful is the wound of a friend. And we took sweet counsel together. And so here is this person that represents the enemy's voice, sowing doubt into you on the wedding day. How did you handle that before you say, I do forever?
So let's put this in a little bit more context. So I know the person we're speaking about. I know the person. I knew her before we even got married, and before I ever started talking to my wife. So everything she told me, I already knew, right? Because we were talking. We were already in that piece I was telling you about. It came with came with openness, and she told me things already before. Oh, talking to this guy here. I mean. Witnessing to him and stuff like that. I understand ministry. I understand when God tells you to do something, you're doing it. As long as you don't get twisted, right? And in that situation, it's easy to get twisted. Somebody in prison talking to somebody that's not in prison and going from there. But I even overheard the conversation with them, right? So I didn't feel threatened by it at all. But it wasn't nothing new that she was telling me. But I also knew that she was doing it out of a hurt place. So my allegiance wasn't to her to say, don't tell her what I told you. I'm just letting you know what she's doing so you can pray for her because she's going through this hurt thing. And you going over there jumping on her is not going to help her in that hurt place, but she's still in that hurt place. Yes, okay, I will. There are opportunities in our life where we have a chance to manifest God. I know it more now than I knew then, but that was an opportunity for my wife to speak life to her and speak to her in her hurt because you're going to have to do that. I told you that, didn't I? And she ended up having to do that when she finally got married to her mate, and speak life to her along that process. So you can't cut people off and stop being a part of what God wants you to do.
That's beautiful. Beautifully said. So now the day of wedding, your mom is now seeing the enemy's hand. And so now there's reconciliation. Covenant is getting ready to be cut. So you guys get married. Okay, so you now get married. You now blended your family beautiful, right? Because the kids are very, very small. You have a chance to mold them. So talk to me. Now you are Mrs. Daniel in Buffalo. Okay, the eligible bachelor is off the table. Okay, talk to me about moving forward.
So moving forward, just keep in mind, I just want everybody to know that I come from a divorced household.
Yes.
And at the time, my mother, single mother, trying to raise kids on her own, working, a different shift. So just watching her where we didn't really get a lot of attention. So, and I wanted to be the one, like, it's you ride and die. I told him that. You're going to ride, you're going to die. Which one you going to do?
Yes. This is covenant.
This covenant, yeah. So once we start, the kids start getting, he's teaching the boys, they toddlers, and he loved them. And just building that relationship with them was so important. And they knew who their father was and who they stepdad. They never called him his stepdad because that was his they dad, because he took care of them, real talk, better than they dads. My husband also made contact with their father just to let them know, he let them know up front what the expectation was.
I love that. So, man of God, because I've seen you guys in action. I don't know how y'all do it, but it's grace. It's a great story. And so you contacted the fathers and you says, what?
It's not about us. It's about how we raise the next generation of men. That's how I say that. And we can talk and if we have some difference of opinions like that, we can talk about it. I'm gonna keep it open communication for that. But what goes on in my house is my house. So I love them. I raise them best I can. But you don't dictate things that go on in my house, and that won't happen. If you do, that's going to be a conflict. And I'm trying to be. And conflict is not going to raise these boys to be men.
Man, that is. Whew, that is so beautiful. This is where you see love. That another man is introducing and opening the line of communication to the boys' fathers to say, look, I am now the husband of these children's mother, and I intend to invite you all to help to raise them, but they are mine now too, and we can all do that together. Oh my God, this is so beautiful. So now you have a man of God who is now loving your boys, opening conversation. There's so much conflict when it comes to the blended families about the conflict of who goes where, kids go where, but I have not detected that. And you guys have something that is super special. So talk to me. Communication have been established. The boys have called your husband dad because he is manned up, stepped up, stayed up, and he has fathered them. And they know who their fathers are, and that's beautiful. Continue your story.
So once we establish all that, as time went on, the boys, they always looked up to their dad, and he give them the manly advice. Like, they always run to him, Dad, what you think about this? What you think about that? And he would have that man one-on-one with them as well too.
And so you have kids of your own together now.
Yes.
Did that cause now here are the two boys, right? Dad. And now Edwin Jr. comes on the scene. Did that change that dynamic? Because now he is these are his boys and still forever are his boys, right? But now you have an Edwin Jr. Talk to me about that.
Well, call him Pooh.
Oh, well, I didn't want, he's a man out there. And if in case he's listening, Pastor didn't call you that. Your mama did. Go ahead.
Well, he really didn't have too much problem. I think he could, when he got a little older, my husband could really address that because it could be a little conflict. I'm your son, and you gonna let him do this before me? And he can address that so better than I can because he know not to come to me with it.
Okay, so all right. So now, so your wife deferred to you. So now, you've adopted your two sons. You've taken them as your own, and I've not seen any differences, right? And so you have a namesake.
Yeah.
So did that strengthen, change how you related to the boys, or this was just another one in the back?
So again, I believe in things of God and the principles and things that God established. And so he was in essence my firstborn. So I have no right to minimize him and who he is and remove his birthright. What is his birthright? However, that doesn't require me to ostracize the boys that was here before him that I formed a covenant with, a promise with. So what I done was I made sure that was established, and then they knew who he was. It's like when the boys came, had some conflicts about some things, I said, well, this thing right here is his. I'm not in a position to take it away from him. That's his birthright. And, but that came up very seldom,
Yes.
because of all the groundwork we've done beforehand,
Yes.
right? Which was establish love and trust and respect for each other in the house.
Yes.
And, the only one that was going to be different with, and I told all three of them, was Trinity.
Well, we weren't even dealing with her yet. I mean, you just jump over your namesake and
I love my son. He's different from me. All of them are different. They're more artsy. I'm more logical thinking, things of that sort. So I'm like, well, all these artsy kids come from, right? So I guess God gave them to me for a reason, right? So I got to go ahead and bloody little artsy things like, oh gosh, did you think about this, right? Have you thought about this? I learned ways to communicate them, because I communicate and interact with them one-on-one differently. But when we collective, the standard is that we all act in love and respect each other.
That's good. So, okay, so he skipped over. So his namesake came, there's 3 boys in the house, and here comes a little girl. And it's over.
Yes.
And so now she's competing for your time.
Yes.
Yes.
He said it, I didn't. And so Trinity, we all know, hey Trinity, if you're still pastor, I can still take you. Okay, we know you're graduating from high school. I can still take you with your karate and all. Okay, and so a girl comes into the pack, and Edwin's heart is second time forever transformed. Because when he talks about her, his eyes, he smiles, he stutters, he gets really emotional with her. Yeah. And so Trinity comes and complete the pack. And so you have 3 boys and 1 girl. And I've seen you where you've incorporated the young people. And you've had church in your house, because you had 3 boys and a girl, where your house was a gathering place. Your house was a safe space. Your house was where they got filled with the Holy Spirit. They got baptized, devils cast out. So now you're doing ministry in your house, but it didn't take away from your allegiance to the local church. Both of you, I've watched you guys, and you would become accountable. Pastor, our church is a wild church. If you're not called to it, you won't understand. We're a different breed, right? Loyal, but we just kind of move at a different pace, right? And so you're in covenant with our local church for over 17 years. But you were doing ministry in your home with the young people, and you've always had this evangelistical call on your life. You came in later. You would just say, let my wife do it. I'm making the money. And I'm gonna watch her, protect her, and anybody come. I remember when we went to the mission trip, you were like, Pastor, tell me where you're gonna be, and it's all over, right? And I was like, okay, we good, right? And so you're married, you've been redeemed, you've experienced redemption in the earth, not just by salvation, but with a husband that took in your 2 sons, and now you have a family that blend in, where you don't know where it starts and ends. And so 4 of you, and you are still doing ministry from when you were in Buffalo. You came to us, and we've never stifled your call in having the freedom to do what Ephesians 4 says, and 1 Corinthians 12 says. You guys, we knew that you were called. You didn't stop tithing, giving, come in. You were on the boards at one time, on the trustees, but you were free, because we know y'all are wild people like all of us. God put a bunch of wild people together, but you were able to do ministry and minister to the young people. And I remember that Reggie, oh my God, this is just a memory. Reggie, we didn't have a minister of music, so the bishop, at that time he was pastoring, put him on the keyboard. And he would be like, tum, 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 tum. And we were like, okay, God, we don't know what you're doing, but we're going to sing along, right? He drove us bunkers, right? And I remember one day the bishop came and laid hands on him and laid hands on his fingers and said, play. And next thing we know, we had a prophetic man. He would sing and pray, and we had the grace to just act like he was like, you know, whoever is out there, right? And he was sweet melody to us because he was one of us,
Yes.
and we knew his life was clean.
Yes.
And we rather a clean worshiper
Yes.
because he was being raised up as a David in the
Yes.
house,
Yes.
a clean, true worshipers, than somebody was a hireling.
Mhm.
So we put up with it until he got prophetic and he left us.
Yeah.
And we were like, okay, wait a minute. But it didn't stop the relationship,
Mhm.
right? And he took wings and he flew, and he's still doing great work in ministry. And the other two are coming into their own.
Mhm.
And then Trinity's getting ready to graduate from high school.
Mhm.
And we know that someone over, we're not going to call any names, is having a great fit, right? And she's not, and you guys are going to have emptiness. One thing I want to bring out to the table is that I see how you guys do vacation together
Mhm.
and have fun together. Talk to me about being married and not forgetting the fun, because you guys know how to do it. When I grow up, I want to be like y'all, not so serious. Like, let my hair down and do a two-step. Talk to me about that.
Well, when I first met my husband, he was just a straight comedian, just had me just laughing and laughing. I love that about him. We just have fun and just, you know, be loose. You know, he can pick on me, I can pick on him. Even the kids are funny. You know, y'all know Trinity funny.
Yes.
So even the kids, they are funny. And my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, they are funny. They
Mhm.
funny people. My sister-in-law, they're very a comedian.
Yes.
And that right there, we love to go on vacation. Now, before I got married, I didn't travel until I met my husband.
Yes.
So he took me, you know, like, we going here, we doing this. When we moved to North Carolina, he's like, we're gonna take the kids here, we're gonna do this. So he actually, you know, showed me that traveling experience because he traveled all over the world.
Yes.
And so I was like, okay, I like this traveling thing. He said, let's go international. I said, okay, I'm going with you. And then the kids start to, you know, one of the teachers didn't believe my son when he was like, oh, I've been there. And they had to call. They called my husband. It's like, is he telling the truth? My husband like, yeah, he's been to those places.
Mhm.
So, you know, I think that, you know, traveling had the kids to expose to that. It makes it, you know, more fun. But even by us being empty nest, well, like, we was joking this morning. We joke all day,
Mhm.
all day, and we just got to keep that fun in a relationship.
Y'all know how to do it.
Yeah, we joking in church, people laughing at us and stuff. Like, shoot, you know, Bishop preaching, you know.
Yeah, so you've been able to keep that laughter, that fire, that spice. When he's talk about, he stutters still. Well, girl, you got something going on there. I need the recipe. And so, but I watch you guys know how to have fun together, go out together, do ministry together. And I watch your husband allow you. I say allow because, you know, when the two comes together and the man is the head, allow you in ministry terms to go forth in ministry, not intimidated. And I watch him come into his own. I remember when his mother said to him, boy, don't play with this. Boy, don't play with this. You best know, right? She said, that's how I love her, right? Can I say that? She would say, is it okay to say that, right? And I see her jack you up, being a man, right? Don't play with the things of God. Like, don't you enter this pulpit with your life not being clean, right?
Called standard.
Yeah, right. That's a church laugh, right? But I watch him give you the freedom to blossom, to be you. I remember I met you and you were selling shoes. I still have those shoes, by the way. And you were selling me some shoes. And you were like, Pastor, you need these shoes. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to support you. Next thing I know, I had boxes of shoes. You were some kind of seller. Next thing I had 6 pairs of shoes. And you were selling shoes, but you were evangelizing while you were selling shoes.
Yes.
And I was in the beauty parlor and you were talking about Jesus, right? Selling shoes. How the red represent the blood, right? And you were selling shoes. So I can say that you have been consistent. But again, the theme is I have watched how you guys travel together, have fun together. Now talk to the audience. When you guys have a disagreement, who forgives first?
Well,
Who warms up first?
him. He will. Sometimes we have a disagreement where sometimes like I'm right, I know I'm right. You don't remember. I remember. I like no, you don't. And sometimes we can laugh it off because we don't take things seriously. Like when we was younger, we had heated conversation. We like I'm leaving.
No, we cussing one another
Yeah.
out. I mean, we've changed the standard, right? Church people talking about heated conversation. What is that?
Y'all upset and I'm leaving you and we get. I mean, I was like, really? Over this little matter, we really don't have big arguments.
Yes.
But when it's times he was like, listen, Shandell, he put his foot down and he was like, I was like, okay, and then I would say something. He said, okay, I respect them. I apologize if you feel that way, or I said something a little differently, and because I told him sometimes in a marriage we could get content with each other and we change it. And I let him know, like, hey, I don't like that no more, and I
Yes.
don't
Yeah.
I don't feel like that no more, and I
Yes.
feel like it could
Safe.
be like safe or a little disrespect, but we growing as a couple, and he does like you're right, and he would say that vice versa, and I'm like, okay, I'm sorry, or he was like, I apologize, babe. I'm sorry.
Last word as we're wrapping this episode up, but not finished. There is so much I want to talk to you about ministry. I want to talk to you about now that you're getting into empty nest, and now that you both answered the call. That's for another episode. And then you have your mom now living in the space that should have been empty nest. So it's a different dynamics. Man of God, give us for one minute, give us a final thought for this episode.
I would, God, you gotta love your wife like Jesus loves the church, and that's a prime example, and that's what I live by. It got us this far, and I've seen a lot of successful other people doing the same thing. I learned this in church when I've been in church on my adult life and on my since I was 8 years old. So, and I'm 50 something now. So, my point here is always trust God, live by the word, because the word is there and true no matter what. And the closer you get to that, the more peace and more understanding you have and knowledge. So I love my wife just like Christ loved the church. And so I had to respect how she feels. I don't lord over her. At the end of the day, I'm the final decision. I had a conversation before she got married. But I would listen to what you're saying, and then I'll make a decision from there. But I exercise that very seldom because we think alike, and she's already like, okay, when you gonna start doing it then, right? And so that's how it is. But I encourage everyone to put God first, pray about it, and read the word, and the word guides you.
Amen. Final
Stay in
word
the
for
word.
you. Praise the Lord. Final word for you.
I would tell the ladies, just stay prayerful, and just even when you think nothing's wrong or you think things are wrong, because if he do something to me, I always go tell God first. And prayer is so essential for the marriage. And if you just jump off and don't take everything so seriously, it's really not that serious. But you will go in prayer and ask the Lord to guide you and direct you, and with love, not hate and anger.
Amen. That's such a beautiful story. We're talking about to the Daniel. This is Edwin Sr. and Shandell Daniel, who are now answer the call for evangelism and are ministers, licensed minister in the work of the Lord. And we've seen their journey, and we've heard some of their stories, such a beautiful love story of redemption and having 2 sons prior to being married, and how God makes all things beautiful in his time and season, and that you're not too far gone. Even anytime a child is born and they're beautiful, and there's no mistake in children. It might have been a situation that should not have been, but the birth of a child is supposed to be a beautiful story of God's word coming to pass, be fruitful and multiply. So if you're out there and you're a single parent, whether male or female, know that God have an answer for you. And if you desire to be married, just wait on the Lord. Be prayerful, stay in your word, and be encouraged that God can redeem your story. This is Pastor D, your prophetic purpose pusher, to let you know that your story brings glory to the Lord, and it's based on redemption story. It's based on what Jesus did, what Jesus is doing, and what Jesus is going to do. So stay prayerful and let love find you. Until the next episode, be blessed.